Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
you are audible.
ओके एंड आप लोगों को पीपीटी दिखाई दे रही है? यू आर एबल टू सी पीपीटी?
Yes, ma'am.
ओके
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ ओके चलो शुड वी स्टार्ट नाउ?
Yes, ma'am.
Today we are going to study the basics of social work, okay, in which we are going to study professional social work, its nature, scope, goals and functions. In old era, as we discussed yesterday also, social work for some is shramdan, for some it's charity, for some it's disaster reliefs, for some it's voluntary services. But basically social work is more than that. How come? Social work helps people with behavioral problems, marital problems, and rehabilitation problems of chronic patients. Or you can say Shramdan, charity, disaster relief, voluntary services. This is individual's choice. But social work is more than that. Suppose if someone is suffering from mental health issue, now it does not come under Shramdan, charity and disaster relief and voluntary action, right? Finally, he or she has to go to a person who can help him or assist him, not exactly assist, person who can help him for to solve his mental health issue. Now this is more than whatever we have discussed. Or if someone has behavioral problem, behavioral issue, then he or she needs to go to a therapist or a counselor. Again, it does not come under Shramdan, charity, whatsoever it is, right? Our next point is nature of social work. Every individual have so many problems, personal problems and family problems. Individually, personal problem is, you can say it's depression, feeling of worry, nervousness, anxiety, fatigue, unease about something with an uncertain outcome. Suppose if I do, then what will happen? If I do that, then what will happen? This is our individual problem, personal problem. Problem with the family, n number of problems are there. Bitter relationship with parents, friends, colleagues, relatives, adjustment issues are there. Marital disputes between husband and wife, teenagers behavior issue with parents, with siblings, sibling means sister or brother. That particular person is not a team player. He is not ready to, or he is unable to work in a team. He's not a good team player. He cannot work with a team or work with a group. Sometimes these kind of people are not able to solve their own issues and their own problems. That in that case they need help from outside. These help or remedies comes from a trained people. Here we can take the example of a person who does not have control on anger. He is very uh, proactive, very hyperactive, does not have uh, doesn't have control on anger. Then what he has to do? Either he has to solve this problem himself, or he needs to take therapy sessions or counseling sessions. We can take the example of sports here. Suppose there's a football team, right? In any team, eh, there is a team leader. In football team, it would be known as team captain or vice captain. Two team leaders are there. One is heading, second one is assisting him, right? And then they have coach. If team players are not ready to listen to the vice captain and captain, then they go to the coach. Related to sports training also and related to behavioral training also. Coach train them how to play in a team, how to be in a team, how to behave in a team. So coach is, though it's a though coach is also a team member, but देखा जाए basically he is not playing on the ground, right? So now he is an outsider, but team players can come to him with their problems, and he should be ready to solve the problems. They have so many conflicts between them, they have so many issues between them, but ultimately they are playing for a same purpose. So now these kind of remedies or these kind of help comes by a trained person who can handle the situation. A person who is seeking the help or who is facing the problem is known as client, and the trained person who is providing the solution or remedy is known as social worker. He can be a teacher, he can be a therapist, he can be a counselor. As we move to next slide, nature of social work. Again, we are continuing the same thing. Here we are taking the example of natural disasters such as flooding, drought, earthquake, tropical cyclone, lightning, tsunami, volcanic activity. So many natural disasters things are there. People donate money, people donate cash in different agencies like PM Care Fund. They think we are doing social work. Here, they do not have direct link with the victims. And in kind, they do manual help also. Like they send food, clothes, medicines. There is a NGO named Goonj. Basically, it is from Delhi. They collect clothes, medicines, and durable foods like biscuits. And they send these foods to the people who are victim of natural disasters. Actually, people think they are doing social work, but they are doing, that's true, but there is no direct contact with the victim, but indirectly helping the helpless they are. But in social work, one to one and face to face interaction of the worker and client is very important. Getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a moment. There is an issue. In the case of social work, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. When person do social work, they can provide temporary relief, permanent relief, and also help in improving interpersonal relations and adjustment problem related to the individuals and groups. The kind of involvement needed to deal with deeper issues and other relationship problems is called social work. Now whatever we have discussed in last 5 minutes, it is more than charity, more than voluntary action, and more than donation also. Got it? As we move to next point, what is the scientific base of social work? Basically it has a very strong scientific base. The knowledge is borrowed from many disciplines like sociology, anthropology, biology, law, medicines. These helps to understand human nature. Social workers make use of this knowledge to solve problems of their clients. How come? Suppose there is a person who is facing mental health issue. Again, I am giving this example because the person who will counsel him basically is a trained psychologist. If person is facing some physical health issue, then he would be treated by a doctor who's a trained mbbs doctor. He has done his course, his education, and gone through the internship also, gone through the training also. So he has knowledge of that particular field. Social work is against any kind of discrimination based on caste, color, race, sex, and religion. People who are weak, disabled, and need care are equally important for the social worker. Suppose there is a person who is not financially sound, but he is suffering from cancer, or is there, there is another person who is very rich and suffering from the same kind of disease. Now, what do you say? Doctor should discriminate? No, never. They has taken the oath to treat equally, everyone equally. The worker has to solve the problem on account of which the client is disturbed without any discrimination. Again, suppose there are two kids, two students studying in a same school. One is one comes into economical vehicle section and second one is from a very good family. But both have problem studying in maths. Then what a mathematics teacher should do? He should teach both the kids equally, both the students equally. So basically, the nature of the social work is problem solving without any discrimination, without any partiality. Our next point is scope of social work. The concern of social work is to help people who are in need so that they can develop the capacity to deal with their problems by themselves. It means the social worker or the counselor or the teacher or the therapist should help the person or should guide the person so that he can treat himself in future if he face the same problem. Basically, social worker find out the cause of the problem and finally should work out a treatment plan. What is the treatment plan? Major four steps are there. First, assessment of the problem means finding the problem. Where is the problem? What is the problem? What is the issue? Second, planning of its solution. It means how he or she should treat this problem, how he should give the remedies, how he should provide the solution so that the problem should be solved. Again, he has to plan everything according to the situation. And next point, he has to execute his plan, implementing the plan, like what should be done first, what should be done in second step. And after executing the plan and implementing the plan, wait for the result and evaluating the outcome. Evaluating the outcome means feedback of the result or feedback on the result. Suppose there is a student who is not interested in study, or he is not good in study, then what should a counselor, an academic counselor should do? He or she should find out either student is interested or not, means lack of interest, or he is weak in that particular subject. Second, suppose if he is a weak person, then he has to plan how to make him practice for that particular subject. He should make a lesson plan, like you should do 5 sums daily, 5 mathematical sums daily. Then again, you should do 10 sums daily. Start with this. Now, after implementing this plan, he or she should take a test of that particular kid, and the result would say he has done the practice or he has not done the practice. If he has done well, then it's good. He needs to do regular practice. If he has not done good in the test, then again the teacher should find another way, so that student will be able to develop the interest in that particular subject. Now, social work methods are that we have already studied yesterday. Social casework is one to one, social group work, working within the group or working with the group. Community organization, basically working for particular community. These three things are direct helping method, and last जो three होंगी social work research, social welfare administration and social action. These are systematic planned way of helping people. In first three, individual, any individual can participate anytime, and rest of the three, fourth, fifth and sixth one, they are the secondary methods for which social worker have to have full plan in systematic way. Every step should be taken with good care. Now, functions of social work. What are the basic functions of social work? Restoration. It means curative and rehabilitative activities. Suppose there is a person who is visually impaired. Or, sorry, suppose there is a person who is a visually impaired, and he is interested in studying or is interested in taking education. Then what? First of all, teaching braille. You have to teach him braille script. Then you have to see if he is able to take it or not. Another example, hearing aid to a partially deaf person. Hearing aid, do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hearing aid.
It helps person to hear, deaf person, partially deaf person. So providing hearing aid is a curative activity, and adjustment with that particular hearing aid is rehabilitative activity. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Same the case with
Yes, ma'am.
visually impaired person. Visually impaired person means partially blind person, blind who cannot see. So providing them braille script is a curative thing, and teaching them braille script is a rehabilitation. Second one is provision of resources, means the development and the educational activity. Here we can take our own example. We have technological resources. You people are sitting in different area of country. Somebody is in Delhi, somebody is in Bhopal, I am in Calcutta. Now I am taking online classes and you are attending it. So provision of resources क्या हुआ इसमें? Set the instruments, set the devices and provide the knowledge. This is the simple example of function of social work. You can take it like that. Suppose there are few kids who are underprivileged, and one NGO is working in an educational sector. Then they take them and educate them. This is provision of resources. Third function of the social work is prevention. Prevention of social dysfunctioning or wrong practice, means which is going wrong in the society. you have to reduce it. You have to prevent people from that. Vocational training center and youth clubs for youth and teenagers. What these training centers do, basically, they provide vocational training, training of carpentering, training of electrician work, training of repairing electronic items. These things come under vocational training centers or vocational training. They give training to the youth and teenagers and people who are in need so that they cannot go for a crime. Suppose there is a person who is not educated but he does not have money also, then what will he do for money? He will do some unethical work. He would go for stealing money, or um, what should I say? He would do something which is not legal. So these kind of trainings help them to reduce their activities which are not good. Counseling on hygiene for youth may prevent health problem in future. You all understand the importance of hygiene. If we give hygiene training or counseling on hygiene to youths, male or female both, it will help them to prevent health problems in future. So functions of social work are mainly three: restoration, provision of resources, and prevention. Our next point is goals of social work. The main goal of social work is to reduce suffering by solving people's problem. Social work can help people to resolve the issues, problems, either personal or financial or health related or behavior related also. Social work goals and related activities include so many things, like enhancing people capacities to resolve problems so that they can work effectively.
लो
Suppose, yeah,
लो रुक गया फिर चक्कर में रुको मेरे चक्कर में रुक गई यार वो पता रुक गई देखो मेरा हाथ लग गया तो
सॉरी सॉरी बोल दे सॉरी
what is going on?
You ma'am, some participants, by
One
mistake can
minute,
turn
one
on the
minute.
mic.
Yeah, 1 minute. Just a moment, please. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Second one, we are into goals of social work. First, we have discussed enhancing people's capacity to resolve problems so that they can work effectively. Now, here we can take the example of technical field. Suppose there is a person who is a software developer, right? But he does not have knowledge of upcoming software. Then people give, or his seniors give, training to him. Then he can solve his problem and work effectively. Same the case with social workers also. Social worker being a teacher, suppose social worker is playing the role of teacher and he is helping students to understand the particular subject and resolve their problem so that they can perform well in that particular subject. Here we can take another example of vocational training. There are n number of activities in vocational training. One of them is carpenter job. Carpenter job starts with basics and slowly they get into a smart work of carpentry. They give what very beautiful and luxurious look of that particular thing. Or carving, it's a part of carpenter work, but it comes by training. Another, linking client with needed resources. Here, suppose you are a social worker, you met a person who has behavioral issue, but you are not trained in that particular field. Then what would you do? You would refer him to a therapist or a counselor or a psychologist who can help him to improve in his behavior, or who can help him improving in his behavior. That is linking client with needed resources. As we move to another point or next point, improving the social services delivery network. Here again, we can take the example of blood bank. In COVID time, in this COVID time in 2020 and 21, n number of people were suffering from COVID and they need blood also. All the time, all the blood groups are not available in the blood bank. Then what they do, they make a network system, so that, or centralized network system, so that they can know where that particular or specific blood group is available. This is improving network, delivery network. Another point, next point is promoting social justice through the development of social policy and legal aid. Here we can take the example of Nirbhaya case. Have you heard about Nirbhaya case?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Initially,
Yes, ma'am.
for that kind of case, we had different policies, but Justice Saxena committee जो थी, the member of that particular committee, they sat together, make a draft, they done debate on that, and they again did some changes in that particular law. This is simple example of social policy and legal aid. Now, as we move to our next point, that is personal attitude of the worker. The social worker is also a human being and has some emotions and feelings. And the client is also a human being. Client has problem, that's the reason he comes to the social worker. When the client is narrating his sad and painful past experience, the social worker see the client as a mirror image of himself or herself. Suppose there is a teenager kid or teenager student who has lots of pressure of study from the teachers, from the parents, and from the peer group also. He is not able to concentrate. Then he has gone to a school counselor. When the student is narrating his story that I'm feeling this much of pressure, parents are after my life, I should minimum achieve 90% marks and I'm not able to concentrate, what should I do? Same time the counselor can think, oh, exactly the my position. I also face the same problem, right? I also face the same situation, same pressure when I was a teenager. But in the social worker position, he or she should not mix up the feeling. He has to understand his own feeling and control them while being professionally involved in the helping role. Means the social worker should not think about his own problem. He should tackle the situation of the current client, a teenager student who has so much of pressure of study. He must focus on helping the client by constructive and positive use of client emotions and resources. Now, what is the client's emotions and resources in this teenager student? Resources, he has good teachers, parents who are providing best facilities of tuitions and books. And emotions, he or she should balance the study and personal hobbies also. Now, counselor should guide him how to improve, how to get rid of the stress. For getting rid of the stress, the student should pursue some hobby so that he can feel free from the stress. This should be the attitude of the social worker so that he can help the client very easily. Our next point is social work and ethics. The social worker has an ethical responsibility towards the client, the employing agency, colleagues, society, community. He should have a healthy relationship with colleagues based on equality, cooperation, helpfulness, and regulated competition. Here, we can take the example of medical camp for free checkups. In medical camps, there are doctors also, nurses also, and people who are working in administrative department also, or people who are working in clerical job also, like people who fill the forms, who maintain the maintain the facility of that particular camp. They are not professional medical worker, they are not medical practitioners, they are just helping hand for that particular medical camp, or we can say these are support staffs who are helping the medical professionals to make a successful medical camp. Here, everybody has their own responsibility towards the client, towards employing agencies. Suppose there is a hospital who is organized, which is sorry, there is a hospital which is organizing free medical camp for checkups. Then they have nurses, doctors, and support staff. Everybody should be very everybody should have sense of responsibility towards their own work, their profile, and towards client also. Their employing agency means that particular hospital, and for their colleagues also. Got it? Are you getting my
Yes,
points?
yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. As we move to our 1 minute,
What happened to the class? Anybody there?
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, okay. There was a technical problem. I don't know what happened, but I was unable to rejoin. Just a moment. Just a moment, no? You people are able to see PPTs or not?
No, ma'am. Actually, the meeting overview is visible, not
Just a moment.
PPT.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a moment. No, just a moment. Now, now you are able to see.
No, it's yeah, yes, ma'am. It's visual.
It's visible, right? Where we were in personal attitude of social worker, which we have already discussed, right? Now,
Yes, ma'am.
as we move to approaches of professional social work, what do you mean by approaches? Approaches means the way of working. Here, we can take the example of charity, directly helping poors. It can be done on individual basis also and group basis also. It's a old concept of social work. Second one is welfare social work approach. It is done by or done through agencies in legal way. It means different people have different problems, like youth training. People from same group, with same community, with same family, but they have different problems. Someone has health problem, someone has financial problem, someone has some other problem also. So basically, every problem can be solved, but in this approach they go through agencies. Like if someone has medical issues, then definitely they go to the hospitals. If uh, someone has stopped getting education, then definitely they have to go to the educational sector agencies. Here we can say everything is in a legal way and a systematic way. Simple example of welfare social work approach. Next approach is clinical social work approach. It means money alone cannot solve problems. So they turn to the counseling roles. Here we can take the example of behavior issues and mental health issues. Already we have already discussed it, right? Our next is ecological social work approach. This social work approach is related to environment and environmental issues like pollution issues, plantation drive, drinking water issues. This is not individual problem. If there is a problem of drinking water in particular area of any city, it means it would be solved by government. It would be solved by a government department of that particular area. Ecological problem include pollution issues also. To solve these kind of pollution issues, they go for plantation drive. आपने ग्रीन इंडिया ड्राइव सुना था? You people have heard about it. Green,
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
save earth, save water तो सुना होगा.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Basically, save water drive is for what issue?
For water conservation, ma'am, I believe.
Right, rainwater conservation.
Rain, yes, ma'am. Catch the rain abhiyan as well. Jal Shakti Mantralayah.
Yes, yes. So these kind of approaches of social work are known as ecological. You should remember the terminology or meanings, like ecological, directly related to environment and environmental issues, right? Clinical means directly related to medical help in terms of counseling or in terms of uh, physical health also. ठीक है? Welfare social approach work directly related to agencies. It can be done through agencies only. Charity individual approach होगी. Okay. Next is Radical social work approach. The idea that social work aims to improve people's lives not only by helping individuals and families, but also by striving for structural change. Here, we can take the example of law amendments, change in law, change in marriage age. Initially, it was 18 for female, 21 for male. Nowadays, what is the age of marriage? Can anybody explain or can anybody answer this?
No, ma'am. No idea about the latest update because I was aware about 18 and 21 only.
Right. Now they are thinking or they are changing in law that female age should be 21 and male should have minimum 24. Another example of radical social work approach is traffic rules to avoid road accidents. Have you heard about helmet rule? Helmet is
Yes,
compulsory.
yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Tripling is banned.
Right.
You should follow the traffic rules to avoid road accidents. Now, what is the idea behind of that? Traffic rules is not for individual. This is for mass. This is for whole society, for each and every citizen of India to avoid road accidents. Another approach is progressive social work. It is to look forward for betterment of society, like demand for free education, free primary education, development of government schools and colleges, and government healthcare facilities. Here, progressive social work approach is what? If there are so many government hospitals are there, then each and every person can get healthcare facilities whenever they need it. Demand of free primary education, n number of underprivileged children are there. They their parents are not able to provide them education because they are dealing with day to day life problems, food, clothes, shelters. Then how could they go for education? So free primary education will system will provide them education till fifth standard, and for that we should have many schools and colleges which are running by government help, government aids, government funds. Another approach is feminist social work approach. What is feminism? Can anybody answer this? What is feminism? You people are there?
Yes, ma'am, we are here. And ma'am, as per my understanding, feminism is all about maybe supporting and promoting the welfare of feminines, like female candidates in
Correct.
given
Absolutely,
institution.
absolutely correct. Basically, it is equal opportunities for female in education and employment also. In every field of life, in every sector of employment, female should get equal opportunities. Basically, this is feminist social work approach. As we move to our next point, this is generic value of social work. Basically, social work values focus on three general areas: values about people, values about social work in relation to society, and values that inform or and improve professional behavior. Values about people, it means conviction and the inherent worth, integrity, and dignity of the individual. It means client. A client of a social worker is as valuable, as worthy as any other person. So social worker should respect his client. He is also a human being, though he has some problem, though he has some issues, but ultimately he is a human being, and being a person, he should get respect. Second one is democratic functioning, means nothing you should impose on the client. Matlab, social worker should not force the client to take any sort of decision. The right of the client in choosing the solution is given utmost importance. Means your client is also has some right to take decision. You can say social workers should give freedom to the, or should provide solutions to the client, and client has right to choose one of the solution for his problem. Another point is equal opportunity for all, irrespective of caste, religion, and economic status or intelligence. It should be only limited by the individual's capacities. Means everybody has equal opportunities, equal right to do anything, though they have different kind of education, different kind of knowledge, different kind of economic status, but they can take their decision for the opportunity or place for for the place for which they want to work for. It should be only limited by their individual capacities. Individual capacities in terms of what? Suppose I want to work for army, but I do not have that particular physical strength, so I would not be get selected because of my limitations. If someone is very intelligent, but he is into field of space research, so he cannot go for social work, like humanities subject, for sociology or some other subject. Here we cannot include his caste, his religion, or economic status. We have n number of scientists, we have n number of social workers, we have n number of leaders from different castes, from different religion, and with different educational background. Our next point is generic values of social work. Social worker's social responsibility towards himself, family, and society. It means social workers himself is a human being, and he has some duties and responsibilities towards himself, towards his family, and towards the society. He should not neglect them while performing his professional duties. He should take care of his family, his uh, friends, family and friends and peers also. Next point is transmit knowledge and skills to others. It means sharing the experience. Transmitting knowledge means someone is giving his knowledge or his experience to another person. Here we can take the example of case studies. Do you understand what is case studies? Basically, case studies are a particular written text in which some situations are mentioned, some situations are explained. ऐसा होगा तो next क्या हुआ? Suppose here we can take the corporate world example. In corporate world, there was a case study of Cyrus Mistry and Tata Sons. Cyrus Mistry got selected as the head of Tata Group, but due to some reason, the management committee wanted to remove him from his position. So Cyrus Mistry went for legal action. Generally, Tata Sons, Tata Group, they do not go for legal actions or legal battle. But in that case, they they have gone for legal case and finally won the case. They got the success. Here, I'm taking this example just to transfer the knowledge or transmit the knowledge to the students. Suppose there is a situation where we have few workers who are not ready to work properly and they are influencing other people also. Then in that particular situation, what the management committee should do, these kind of case studies help management student to see the problem in different perspectives. Same the case with social worker. In educational sector, we have n number of students who are dropouts, who do not have interest in a study, or they have lose the interest. They have lost their interest in studies. Then what should the counselor do? It does not mean one solution for so many problems or one solution to that particular problem. They have n number of solutions. If I am a social worker and I have experienced the same problem with a student, then I cannot apply the same remedy to the another student also. But I can share my experience with my co-worker who is also a social worker. In a staff room, so many teachers are there and teachers discuss the students' behavior, right? So discussing the student behavior is also sharing experience about them. Get it? Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. As we move to our next point, it is separating personal feeling from professional relationship. As I have already told you, no emotional connect should be there with the client. No mixed up the feeling like mirror image. Means you should not mix your personal feeling with your client, or you should not mix your personal behavior to you should not mix your personal feelings and your personal behavior in your professional doing. It should be a totally professional approach. You should treat your client as a client only. You should not take him personally. You should not behave like he is going through something. I have already gone through something. So we both have face the same problem. So it could be a solution. No, it's not that easy. It is simply not acceptable. Separating personal feelings from professional relationship means totally professional behavior should be there. Next point is personal and professional conduct. It means you should have set a benchmark for yourself also and for others also. Confidential and emotional information should be handled very carefully. In case of counseling session, counselor or social worker should not share clients' personal information with others. Here we can take the example of medical practitioners reference for mental health issue. People do not like to share their mental health issue or their behavioral problem. They generally do not say anybody that I'm consulting a therapist or I'm going to a counselor. So it is social worker or the counselor responsibility to set a benchmark how to conduct your personal and professional conduct. Our next point is principle are statements of do's and don'ts. What should be done and what should not be done. to get best result while practicing social work. Number one is principle of acceptance. Each person, either a social worker or a client, they are human being. So we should they should accept each other as client and social worker, and most importantly as an individual also. This is the principle of acceptance. Social worker should not think that I am superior to my client, and client should not think that I am rich than my therapist or my social worker. They should accept each other in the same situation. Like, you are my client, I am your therapist, or I am the client, you are my therapist. I am social worker, you are my client, vice versa. Next point is principle of individualism. It means everyone is different, every person is different from another person. They have different hobbies, different behavior, different educational background, different economical status, different way of working for any situation, different kind of employment also. So we should not think like, if I can read Hindi, I can speak Hindi, it does not mean my student can also read Hindi. Every person is a different person. So we should accept that every individual is equally important. Next point is principle of communication. This is very important part, communication. Social work practice can get the success only because of establishment of two-way communication. It means you can solve your client's problem very easily if you have very good communicative terms with your client, either verbal or non-verbal. Verbal, oral, or written. Like, suppose I'm talking to a student who has facing some problem. I asked him, what is your name, in which class you are in, tell me something about yourself. And he starts saying, I'm in this standard, my name is this, I am facing this kind of problem. Slowly they establish two-way communication. Social worker is asking something and student is replying. Non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication can be done through gestures, signs, and actions. Suppose client is nervous, then he has some different kind of sign showing nervousness. Like, he will touch his feet, he will touch his hand, he will move his fingers, he will clean his face regularly. This is signs and actions. By the help of these kind of actions, social worker has to judge the present situation of his client. Next is principle of self determination. It means client has, just a moment, it means client has right to assess what is good for him and what is bad for him. He can take his own decision on the basis of his choices. So social worker should respect his choice. Next is principle of confidentiality. Not to share client information with others, not to make fun of his uh, behavior, his conduct. Principle of not Principle of non-judgmental attitude. Non-judgmental attitude towards his social status, his intelligence, his education, his economic condition. It means you should treat your client as a client only. Principle of control emotions involvement. Again, the same thing which we have already discussed. maintain professional environment, no emotional connect with the client. Intervention. Intervention in the basic unit of the society. What does it mean? Social work practice is carried out at different level of society. Social work intervention uh, takes place at the level of individual, family, group, community, and social society at large. Here, different what are different levels? Individual. Social worker is treating one person face to face, one on one. This is simply client and social worker relationship, individual basis. Family. Here we can take the example of marital dispute. Two people are there staying in same home, same place, and have relationship. In family we can count father son also, husband wife also, mother daughter also, siblings means sister brother also. If they have problem with each other, then this is a different level, this is a family level. Group level, we can take the example of students, class of ninth standard, 10th standard, or youth group also. There are n number of schools in which they have compulsory regional language. Suppose few central government employees kids take admission in that particular school where they have compulsory third language option, which is regional language. Now four or five students are there who are not able to understand the regional language. So there is a group of five people. Now the regional language teacher has to take initiative to teach them properly how to start with the basics. This is just for an example. Here we can take the example of teenagers who are dropout. They could not continue their education, so vocational training center is a remedy for them. Again, another point is community, regional community. Here we can take the example of Gurudwaras, Sikhs. They make or they facilitate langar facility to the hunger people. Now, some Gurudwara has less fund, they provide just normal basic food. Some have good donation, some get good donation, then they provide one or two thing extra. This is just for an example, but in the case of social work intervention, we can say in that particular community, suppose there is a wrong practice long back, almost 50, 60 years or more than that, we had sati pratha in Hindu community of Rajasthan basically. Then social worker, government, welfare association started working on that particular problem. So they have solved the regional community problem. Again, next point is society at large. Without any discrimination, large number of people. Here we can take the example of flood. Flood has nothing to do with reason, caste, color, male or female, gender biasness, nothing. Flood is flood. If flood is coming to a particular area or some area is directly affected by flood or earthquake, then it's simply a natural disaster. There is no discrimination. Then all the welfare agencies, NGOs, voluntary organization, they work for that particular society without any discrimination. As we move to our next slide, it is voluntary action and social work in India. Voluntary action refers to the initiatives undertaken by people independently towards the achievement of common goals and objectives. This we have already discussed yesterday. Voluntary organizations, they have workers. They can be on salaried basis also, and they can work voluntary also. A voluntary organization, properly speaking, is an organization which, whether its worker are paid or unpaid, is initiated and governed by its own members without external control. It means, suppose there is a voluntary organization, then they have their own leader, they have their own managing committee, they have their own management system. It is not governed or ruled by external control. They just have to follow the rules made by their own agencies. Now, objectives of voluntary organization. Already discussed these things so many times. Protection and development of children, welfare of women in the rural areas, services for youth, community welfare, promotion of educational facilities, promotion of public conscience on social problem, promotion of moral standard and family welfare, prevention of disease and health care. Next is protection and welfare of handicap, eradication of social handicap for certain group, spiritual upliftment, promotion of international brotherhood. This is international brotherhood. It means save earth. Have you heard about it? Save earth
Yes,
campaign.
ma'am.
uh,
Yes.
this every country of the world is working for that. कार्बन फुटप्रिंट्स के लिए कर रहे हैं. Every country is working for them. Green earth projects are there. This is simple example of ecological approach. Each and every country is working for environment. Each and every country is working on the issue of pollution, any kind of pollution, water pollution, air pollution, any type of pollution. Next is promotion of natural interest through voluntary effort, training of workers for field work, protection of nature and animals. एनिमल्स रिलेटेड कोई आप लोग एनजीओ बता सकते हैं?
Ma'am, it's about protection of.
It's about
मैम आपने किस चीज की प्रोटेक्शन के लिए पूछा मैम?
एनिमल प्रोटेक्शन के लिए. एनिमल प्रोटेक्शन.
ओके.
Currently there is a campaign of गौरक्षा. गाय,
राइट मैम.
हाँ, गाय के ऊपर गाय की सुरक्षा के लिए कैंपेन नहीं चल रहा है यूपी में?
राइट मैम, बहुत तेजी से चल रहा है. एंड मैम इवन कुछ दूसरे भी प्रोजेक्ट है जैसे सेव टाइगर. तो
राइट.
ये मैम मतलब जो हमारे वन्य जीव है इनके बचाव के लिए चलाए जा रहे हैं जो विलुप्त होती
करेक्ट
प्रजाति है. यस मैम.
करेक्ट करेक्ट. Next point is voluntary services in India. This is just like a study of history of social work. Voluntary services pre-19th century. Indian people voluntarily planted trees to give shades to the weary travelers. Generally, पहले plantation क्यों होता था? Travelers who are going through that particular route can take rest in shade of that particular tree. Communities organize educational institutions, boardings, library for students by collecting funds and distributed grants to hospitals, colleges, and poor homes. Like initially, we had Nalanda Vishwavidyalaya. We have lots of old universities, gurukuls. Basically, these educational institutes established for educating the students, educating the kids. They make libraries also. And by collecting funds, they have established charitable hospitals also. for poor people, and they established shelters for needy people also. This is pre 19th century. Post 19th centuries, area of religious and spiritual tenets, religious reforms हुए, area of customary practice, social and ritualistic social reforms, area of new problems and needs that demanded a solution as a result of urbanization of voluntary social work. Here we can take the example of Ram Krishna Mission movement run by Mahatma Gandhi, Arya Samaj, n number of charitable institutes are there which are established post 19th century. Some are working on education sector, some are in healthcare sectors. In healthcare sector we can take the example of Satya Sai Baba Trust. In education sector, Ram Krishna Mission schools are there. In spiritual upliftments we can take the example of Brahma Kumari, right?
Right, ma'am.
And now in present century, in current situation, in current era, we have n number of voluntary organizations in field of education, public health, children welfare, women welfare, service for youth, community welfare, and welfare of the handicapped. We have Salam Balak Trust in Delhi, which work for street children. Some of them do not have shelter. They provide them shelter, provide them basic education, food and clothes also. Another example, Seva Mandir, Udaipur. They work for rural healthcare system and education system, upliftment for women of that particular area, women empowerment by providing them training of handicrafts also. Human Wave, another simple example of voluntary organization in Kolkata, work for healthcare sector. साधना फॉरेस्ट तमिलनाडु एनवायरमेंट सेफ्टी के लिए काम करते हैं वो. रॉबिन हुड आर्मी, दे वर्क फॉर फूड फॉर ऑल. दे मोटो इज फूड फॉर ऑल, मतलब नो वन शुड स्लीप विदाउट हैविंग फूड. हेल्पेज इंडिया, Helpage India work for senior citizens and old age people who do not have anybody to take care of them. So Helpage India takes care of them. Cry is an organization, full form is Child Right and You. They work for child marriage issue, child trafficking issue, child labor issues. If you find any kid in a street and he is not able to say anything about himself, you should immediately dial child helpline number. Then they come and get and take that particular child, and according to the need they provide solution and remedies also. Another example in educational sector is Teach for India. Teach for India, they run so many projects in educational sector. They provide internship also, internship to the students who are interested in social work in education field. It is a paid internship, but scrutiny is very tight. Teach for, if you want to do internship with Teach for India, then they ask your resume, your credentials, and they take your 5 rounds of interview or 5 rounds of selection. Then they give you stipend. Stipend is very handsome amount. It's 20,000 rupees for an intern. It's really a very good amount. Then they expect, then you should work with your full capacity in education sector. They run so many projects. They have projects in Delhi, Pune, Bangalore, Mumbai. Teach for India is run by Shaheen Mistry. Shaheen Mistry is the CEO of Teach for India. As we move to our next point, which is purpose of a code of ethics. The code socialize practitioners new to the field to social work's mission, values, ethical principle, and ethical standard. It means the standard code, the written guidelines help social worker to execute his plan. He should know what should be the way of working. The code articulates a standard that the social work profession itself can use to assess whether social worker have engaged in unethical conduct or he is doing the right thing. These codes have been formulated. One moment, हमने पॉइंट मिस कर दिया, हमने फिफ्थ एंड सिक्स डिस्कस कर लिया. The code identifies core value on which social work's mission is based. Means a social worker should not lose his track, should know how to work, should know what kind of process should be followed. The code summarizes broad ethical principles that reflect the profession's core values and establishes a set of specific ethical standards that should be used to guide social work practice. Means right way of working, how to work, to whom we should follow, what kind of rules and regulations are there. It is simply given by code of ethics. The code is designed to help social worker identify relevant considerations when professional obligations, conflictuals, or ethical uncertainties arise. It means, suppose a social worker is working on a case and some critical situation or some crisis is there. Now, what should be done? What steps should be taken by the social worker? It is simply designed or helped by code of ethics. The code provides ethical standard to which the general public can hold the social work profession accountable. It means here we can take the example of law. Suppose there is a law which say juvenile criminals, means teenagers who has done some crime, who has done some unethical or illegal activities, then what kind of punishment he or she should be given. The, these punishment should be according to the law. Here, every person, his family members, his friends, his teachers, his peer group, pe- people who are staying with him or who used to be with him can know what is the right way, what is the standard, how they can help him. The code provide ethical standard to which the general public can hold the social work profession accountable. It means they are able to understand the situation of that particular person. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Trying to process this, ma'am. Yeah.
Now, these codes, how these codes are established, how these rules are established and formulated, they are advised or formulated by expert who are subject matter experts of that particular area. They provide or they present the draft of these rules and regulations in front of association of that particular country, social work association of that country. In the general assembly, the issues are discussed word by word. Different point of views are expressed and debated upon it. After such ranging discussions and several revisions, the final draft of the code is put to the vote and accepted. Here again, we can take the example of Nirbhaya case. She was victim of sexual harassment. Before this particular incident, we have different kind of rules, different kind of acts for the criminal. After that, after this particular Nirbhaya case, legal committee started working on changing law. They expressed, the expert, everyone was, the committee members, everyone was educated, expert of law. They express their point of view and debate on this. After so many discussions, after several meetings, several revisions, several changes, final draft of that particular law was presented in front of assembly. They put to vote and accepted, and we finally got Nirbhaya amendment law. Our next point is problem faced by social workers in ethical decision making. This is basically for our current situation. Crisis of value in Indian society means if there is something wrong, then nobody is there to take the responsibility. No one is ready to say, yes, I have done this wrong, and this is because of me, it went wrong. So this is the problem with our value system. Suppose any NGO or any voluntary organization which is working in the field of education, they are getting funds, they are getting aids, but they are not able to produce good number of students for formal education. Now, nobody is ready, nobody is going to take the responsibility. They will say children are leaving the NGO or leaving the classes because of their personal problem. They never say that we have some problems, we do not have good teachers, we do not have good social workers, we do not have good facilities, that's the reason children are leaving. No, they will say children are leaving because of their own problem, their own personal issues. Parents are not ready to them send them to here, send them to the NGO. So this is the basic problem facing by voluntary organization. Second thing, voluntary organizations are working as money making ventures. N number of NGOs, they collect funds, but they do not use that fund for needy people. Here we can take the example of Rana Ayub. Rana Ayub is a very famous social activist and very famous journalist. At the time of COVID, she started taking funds in keto platform, online platform. She started taking money. She has collected almost 2 point something crores rupees. She has invested or she has given almost 40% money to the needy people, and rest of the money she has deposited as fixed deposit in the name of his father and in the name of name of her father and her sister also. So this is simple a case of money fraud. N number of NGOs are there which are not working properly in monetary terms. They are not giving funds or they are not releasing funds to the needy people. Next point is lack of common perspective in social work related issues. Suppose there is a NGO or voluntary organization in the field of healthcare sector. Now, people working there, they have their own agenda. Someone is saying we should go to the government hospitals, someone is saying we should go to the charitable hospitals. They have conflicts with each other. It means they have lack of common perspective in social work related issues. They think it can be solved by this way or that way. They do not come in same page. Next point is powerlessness of social worker. This is basically the situation of social worker who work in field level. They do not have right to take decision. They have to follow the instructions of seniors. They have to follow the rules and regulations of the agency. Sometimes they cannot take decision that they should do this thing or not do. Basically powerlessness is the major issue with social worker who are working in grassroots level. Next point is lack of support from the civil society, financially and manually both. Here we can take the example of upcoming Durga Puja. In Calcutta, in West Bengal, Durga Puja is a very, very important function. People donate so much of money for Durga Puja. I can give you my personal experience. I can share with you. We have Durga Puja in coming next 10 or 15 days. People are donating more than 1 lakh individually. I have donated 1,000 rupees. Someone else has donated 5,000 rupees. But if I ask them that my maid or my house help is suffering from disease and we should help her financially, then they hardly give 500, 100, maximum 1,000 rupees. This is what lack of support from civil society, financially also and manually also. Next point is lack of professional bodies and professional support. Here, it is directly related to legal advice. Suppose there is a case of dowry, then there is no voluntary organization is available who can provide free legal aid to that particular victim. Professionally, they charge fee. There is one state legal authority governed by government or ruled by government, run by government. They provide, but they have long queue. They have long queue of victims. There are n number of females who are facing this kind of problem, but they are not getting the legal aids due to financial issue. Next point is lack of importance given to studying and discussing professional ethics. Here we can simply take the example of social work students. They have bookish knowledge, they have classroom teaching knowledge, they have text, they have books, they have journals, but they do not have proper fieldwork training. That is the reason fieldwork training of 45 days or 30 days or 15 days are compulsory for the students of graduation and post graduation. Got it?
Yes, ma'am, getting it. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes.
should we revise all the slides once again or it is okay for everyone?
Ma'am, I think we can briefly, take over it so that we
Take
can
over.
develop an understanding. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, one by one.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll start with nature of social work, right? Basically, sh- social work can be done with individual and with group, with community, with the family, and with society also. Individuals have so many problems, personal problems also, family problems also. Personal problems, we can discuss depression, feeling of worthiness, nervousness, anxiety, fatigue, n number of things are there. It can be solved by a therapist. Family problem like marital dispute, bitter relationship with parents, friends, peer group, right? It can be done by, it can be solved by the help of therapist and counselor. Sometimes they can solve it by themselves, but sometimes they cannot. That time they take assistance or they take help of others, which are who are trained people. Trained people are known as social worker. They can be teacher, therapist, and counselor. And the person who is seeking help is your client. Nature of social work. Basically, nature of social work is problem solving in any kind of situation, either natural disaster, man-made disasters, personal problem, family problem, group problem. We can take we can take everything. Yes, somebody is saying something.
No, ma'am, please continue.
Okay. At the situation of disaster or natural disaster, generally people help victims in cash and kind, both in cash in terms of money donation, in kind by manual help, also by donating food, clothes, and medicines also. While answering this kind of question, you should always give minimum one example with the name of the NGO or with the name of any agency. In this kind of help, social workers or individual, they are not directly connected to the victims. They are indirectly helping the helpless people or helpless victims. But in case of social work, one to one and face to face interaction is very important, and client is very important. By the help of social worker, client can get temporary relief also, permanent relief also, and get so many solutions for one problem. Now it's depend on the person, what kind of need, what kind of solution he ha- what kind of solution he need, and what is his need according to the situation. First of all, social worker has to realize and get that problem, then only he can provide the solution. Scientific base of social work, it means social work is related to so many fields, so many subjects, so many disciplines like sociology, psychology, anthropology, biology, law, medicines, psychiatry. There are n number of disciplines which can help a social worker to get knowledge so that he can solve the problem of his client. Social work is against any kind of partiality or discrimination based on color, religion, caste, and gender. People who are weak, disabled, and need care are equally important for the social worker, though they are from either they are from a rich family or from a poor family. For social worker, they are equally important. Here, what should be the way of working of a social worker? Four steps are involved. You can note it down. Assessment of the problem means finding the problem, what is the root cause, what is the origin of the problem. Second, when social worker comes to know what is the problem, then he has to plan for the solution. How and when he will provide solution and remedies to the client. Next, how to implement the plan. After implementing the plan, what would be the result, and that result is good or bad, means evaluation of the outcome, evaluation of the result, means giving the feedback after the result. These four steps are very important. This is not only in the field of social work, this can be useful for any situation and any problem also. Here we can take the example of physical health also. Suppose someone is ill, someone is not well, then he goes to the doctor. Then first of all, what doctor does, he see what is the problem, what kind of problem he is suffering from, then what kind of medicine he should, the client or the person should take, what kind of medicines and when he should take, and with what he should take, is the implementing the plan. And when doctor says come after 5 days, we'll see the result, it means evaluating the outcome. डॉक्टर रिविजिट करने बोलता है ना, दैट इज इवैल्यूएटिंग द आउटकम, दैट डॉक्टर इज thinking, or doctor wants to know whatever the medicine he has given is affecting or not, what would be the result, that he will see after 5 days. This is the simple example of 4 steps involved in social work. Next is social work methods, which we have already discussed in 3 level. One is social casework, social group work, community organization. These 3 are direct helping methods. Next 3, social work research, social welfare administration, and social action. These are secondary methods. Next is basic functions of social work. You have to remember only 3 points: restoration, provision of resources, and prevention. Restoration is what means finding the problem, giving the solution. Curative and rehabilitative means you are finding the problem, you are getting the right thing, and you are executing it. Restoration. Second point, provision of resources. Here, developmental and educational. You can take the example of online classes. For taking online classes, being a counselor, I have to set my devices, and then only I can provide online classes. Third is prevention. Prevention is very important because it reduces wrong practices in society. It helps improving our customs. Here you can take the example of vocational training center, youth clubs, different kind of agencies which provide training and education. Next slide is goals. Basically, what are the goals of social work? Number 1, resolving the problem. Number 2, linking client with needed resources. Number 3, improving the social service delivery network. Number 4, promoting social justice through the development of social policy and legal aid. What should be the personal attitude of the social worker? Like every individual has feelings, emotions, but social worker should not mix his own feelings, his own experience with the client experience and client saying. He must focus on helping the client by constructive and positive use of client's emotions and resources. See, suppose being a social worker, if I have faced some problem in my past life and I have experienced something and I use some remedies for that, I have gone to a therapist or a counselor. It does not mean the same remedy will be helpful to my client also. I should not take his problem as my personal problem. I always should have a professional approach towards his problem, my client's problem. It should be the attitude of a social worker. A social worker should respect his colleagues, his client, and his co-workers also, peer group also, juniors and seniors also. He should have some sense of responsibilities towards employing agencies also. This should be the social work and ethics. Next point, social work approaches or approaches of professional social work. Here you should just remember the meaning of keywords. Social work as charity, it means directly helping the poor. You can take your own decision. What kind of help you want to give, what kind of donation you want to do, either 500 rupees or 5 rupees, totally your own choice. You want to do it manually, do it manually. You want to help him financially, you can do it. Welfare social work approach, it can be done through an agency. Suppose someone is ill, then you should take him to the hospital. You cannot treat him without any knowledge. Or same the case with legal aids. If someone is facing some legal problem, then you should take him to the legal authorities. You should not guide him. Next one is clinical social work approach. It means you need counseling or a medical help. Money cannot work here. You have to go to the expert. Ecological, directly involved with environment and environmental issues. Here you can take the example of pollution, air pollution, sound pollution, water pollution, anything, and you can give the example of plantation drive. Next is radical social work approach. It means you are not helping only individuals or families, but you are striving for structural change. Here, we can take the example of change in law. I have given the example of legal age of marriage, traffic rules. N number of things are there uh, which have rules and regulations set by government. In park, कॉमन कम्युनिटी पार्क, आपने देखा होगा, लिखा होगा, कृपया फूल ना तोड़ें, कृपया गंदगी ना फैलाएं. These kind of rules are for society and people of society. It is not for only individual. It is for everyone. Progressive social work, betterment for society. You can take the example of free primary education. Okay, you can take the example of free primary education, free healthcare facilities provided by the government. Another approach is feminist social work approach. Feminist work itself says this is for equal opportunities for females. in every sector of employment and educational sector also. Next is generic principle of social work. It means every individual, either he is a client or a social worker, he has right to get respect and as worthy as any other person. So social worker should also respect his client and client also respect his therapist. Democratic functions. It means you should not, or social worker should not impose on client anything, any decision. Client has his own right to choosing the solution. He has his own brain to judge what is right, what is wrong. Next is equal opportunity for all, irrespective of caste, reason, and economic status. It means everybody is same, everyone is equal, everyone should get equal opportunity for to get medical help, to get education, to get any sort of facilities. Next is social worker is also a human being. He has his family, he has his peer group. So social worker should not neglect his family, himself, while performing his professional duties. It means, suppose there is a doctor, he is treating some patients, but he himself is a human being, he should take rest also. He should not neglect his health. Because of his healthy behavior, n number of people are coming to him. But it does not mean that he should not take break. He should not take care of his family. He should. He should spend time with his family, his wife, his children, his parents, his friends. So we can say social worker social responsibility towards himself and family. Next is transmit knowledge and skill to others. It means simply sharing the experience, knowledge, and whatever you have learned, you should share it with your co-workers. Sometimes it can be in form of case studies, in form of journals also. Next point is separating personal feelings from professional relationship. It means no emotional connect with the client, no emotional attachment with the client. You should treat your client as a client only. You should not treat him like your friend. You should build a rapport. You should build a good communication, but you should not treat him like your personal friend. Personal and professional conducts of a social worker. Matlab, social worker should set a benchmark in both personal and professional level. It means here we can take the example of medical practitioner reference for mental health issues. He should not share his client's information with others. If he want to share his experience, then he can share, but without stating the name, without mentioning the name. Next is principle, generic principle of social work. Principle of acceptance means you client and social worker should accept each other as a client and social worker and as an individual also. Principle of individualism or individualization means every person is different, every person has different feelings, different emotions, different background. You should accept him like as an individual. Principle of communication, establishing two-way of communication. It means the client and the social worker both should participate in communication. either a verbal communication or a non-verbal communication. They should establish a bond, a repo, then only communication can be built. Next point is principle of self-determination. It means client has his own rights to assess what is good for him and what is wrong for him. According to basis on his own choice, he can take decision for himself. This is this is called self-determination. Same is the case with social worker also. Social worker can decide according to the ethics what is right for his client, and he can suggest to his client that you have this kind of problem and these are the solutions. You can choose any one of them. Next point is principle of confidentiality. It means do not share and or social workers should not share clients information with any other person, related to client also and related to social worker also. Principle of non-judgmental attitude. It means if someone is not educated or does not have rich background, it does not means that he does not have sense of responsibility or he is not a nice person. So we should not judge people on the basis of their background or status. Next is principle of controlled emotional involvement. Again, no emotional connect, maintain only professional environment and professional connect with the client. Intervention in the basic units of the society. Here, we have already discussed individual level, family level, group level, community level, and society at large. Have given so many examples on one-to-one cases, family cases, group cases, and society cases also. Next is voluntary action and social work in India. N number of voluntary organizations are working, known as NGOs, voluntary organization, some trust, associations, N number of agencies are there. Their workers, sometimes they are paid and unpaid or unpaid, but they work for common goals and common objectives. They are not taking instructions from external bodies. They do not have any external controller. They have their own team leader, they have their own management committees. Next point is objective of voluntary organization. Very simple: protection and development of child, women empowerment, safety of citizens, services for youth, community welfare, educational facilities, promotion of educational facilities, uh, promotion of healthcare sector, prevention of disease, healthcare, moral standard and family welfare, protection and welfare of the handicapped, protection of nature and animal, promotion of natural interest through voluntary efforts, promotion of international brotherhood, spiritual upliftment. And next point is voluntary services in India. This is simply history of voluntary services in India. You can say pre-19th century and post-19th century. In pre-19th century, we can say plantation of tree. People generally did it to give shades to the travelers, to the animals, or people passing through that particular passage. After that, some of the educational institutions were established for education system to provide education, to give knowledge, general and common libraries for students by collecting funds, and some charitable hospitals also. Post 19th centuries, here we can take the example of different trust. like Arya Samaj, Ram Krishna Mission, doing of Mahatma Gandhi's. N number of things are there. N number of agencies are working. Has started working post 19th centuries in different field of social work. In current situation, I have given almost 7 or 8 example of NGOs or voluntary organization in the field of public health, children welfare, women welfare, and community welfare also. Next, need for the ethical behavior in social work. Again, principle of confidentiality. It means social worker during their interaction with the client and their significant other have sensitive information. That particular information should not be shared with others. It should be only with the social worker only. Social worker, being a therapist or being a counselor, should not share the problem of client or name of the client or the secrets of the client with other people. Sometimes social workers occupy a very good position in authoritative or non-governmental organization. Then they should not take advantage of their position. Like if someone is working as a principal of a school, then he or she should not take the advantage of his position and give admission directly to the student or directly to a one kid without taking entrance test or without taking any interview. Next is, if social worker is in a position where he can allocate resources, then he should not misuse it. Purpose of code of ethics, which we already have discussed it. Already we have discussed it, na?
Right, ma'am.
Right? So I'm going through the last point. This problem faced by social worker in ethical decision making. Number one, crisis of value system. Means they do not take responsibilities, not take the accountability also that I am responsible for this or our organization is responsible for this problem. Generally, any NGO or any voluntary organization, they do not take responsibility. This is the main problem. Second, money laundering or money fraud. They become money making ventures. They do not use fund in right way. Next, lack of common perspective or common goal. Means everybody has their own ego. They work according to their own agenda. They have so many conflicts, so many confusions. That is the reason we need some written rules how to work. Without having these rules, social worker face problems, so many problems. Next point is powerlessness. It means you do not have any authority to take decision for anyone. Generally, this problem is faced by social worker who are working on grassroots level, on basic level. They do not have right to take decision. Lack of support from civil society. It means people generally do not come forward to support social work agencies, either financially or manually, both. Here, here I have given you the example of Durga Puja and the person who is suffering from any disease. People are ready to give donation to the Durga Puja Pandal. Here I'm not, uh, I do not want to hurt anyone feelings about Durga Puja. This is just for an example. Here you can take the example of New Year celebration also. For New Year celebration, we contribute or we collect money in thousands. But for some needy person, If someone asks money, we just provide 50 rupees, 100 rupees, max to max 500 or 1000 rupees. So,
Right, ma'am.
right, this is lack of support from civil society. So here I do not want to hurt anyone emotions related to Durga Puja or New Year celebration. I'm just giving the example only. Okay.
Right, ma'am. It's understood, ma'am.
Ah. Next is lack of professional bodies and professional support. It means where we need legal advice or medical help, but sometimes we do not get it for the needy people. Okay. Next is lack of importance given to studying and discussing professional ethics. Here we can take examples of ourselves, about me also, and about you also. Being a student, we have bookish knowledge, we have theories, we have classroom teaching knowledge, we have all the written thing in our hand, but we do not have proper fieldwork training. We do not have professional experience or field experience of social work. So this covers the point importance given to the study and discussing professional ethics. Should I conclude it now?
Sure, ma'am. We got
Okay.
insights. Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
We'll meet
Thank you,
tomorrow
ma'am.
same time for
Thank
block
you,
two.
ma'am. Good night.
Good night.
Sure, ma'am. Definitely.
Ma'am, I have a
Yes.
doubt, ma'am.
क्या पूछो?
Ma'am, this class is for only for